We back, got that Danger Close Mod B guide, and oh boy, is this a fun boss this time. Counters ban and getting a high score is like playing the lotto. Mech mains rejoice, your time has come. Mechs are buffed this time by 20% attack and skill haste. I went ahead and included two teams, one with Asigma and one without. I will go over the mechanics as well as some tips and tricks. Let's go ahead and check out this guide. So to start off with, the boss is a ranger. It immediately starts a proximity check at the start of the fight. If no unit is within range, it'll sit there and fire off its laser beam, killing pretty much everything, and then immediately go into phase 2. This boss is special, which is indicated by its blue bar under its portrait. Will sit there and place mines after cleansing itself. The mines will start in the back if there's 3 or more units back there, but if not, it'll apply it underneath your team in the front. Boss's ulti, which is indicated by the purple bar underneath his portrait, will sit there and launch a barrage on your team, knocking everybody forward. Boss at 218 will initiate a DPS check. Succeeding in this will stun the boss, and then immediately start phase 2. If you happen to fail that DPS check, then the boss will fire off a laser beam, pretty much killing everybody, and then drop a totem, and then going into phase 2, the totem will sit there and give anybody that's near it minus 75% attack and minus 75% speed. During phase 1, there really isn't much to this. The boss will sit there and do his proximity check until you have units in range. Then it'll just sit there and smack your team, firing laser beams at it. If you have somebody in the front line, you don't have to worry too much about it, as well as deploying mines. During phase 2, the boss will sit there and walk forward. Depending on whether or not you clear the DPS check or not, that totem right there will be spawned. It'll sit there and attack whatever's in front of them, and during this time, your team, anybody behind the boss, will sit there and do plus 25% more damage for backstabbing. Once the boss reaches a third of his HP, it'll go into phase 3. At this point, it'll sit there and launch a laser beam that'll knock everybody forward, as well as it'll start sitting there sending a barrage of laser beams down to the farthest target. Now this is only one hit, so everything else that's close to the boss or behind it or isn't the farthest target will be completely safe. Other than that, it'll sit there and initiate DPS checks constantly, which if you clear it, it'll temporarily stun the boss. A good trick is at the start here, when you sit there and deploy, forward deploy Asigma. This will help you manage the mines a lot better, as you'll have 2 targets here, and when you deploy your next unit during the special, it'll sit there and target those and send the mines in the back. But the tower will be far enough forward that your tower Sigma will be safe from being hit by the mines. If your Sigma has enough skill haste, you can leave auto ult on, and it'll sit there and ulti at the right time to sit for these mines here. That way they'll spawn in the back and not on your team, as well as keeping everyone safe. But if she doesn't have enough skill haste, you can delay your glitch deploy or another unit's deploy to deploy in the back to sit there and aggro these mines. The biggest piece of advice I can give you is that this boss has 80% evasion. As you can sit there and see from here, you miss a lot. And then just don't have the tools to give our units enough crit for when we do hit to guarantee, almost guarantee, crits on the boss. So don't get discouraged if you don't get it the first few times. It may take quite a few restarts to actually kill this boss. So here we have the Asigma team. Asigma is our main DPS as well as our main tank. Ifrit is our secondary DPS, Tarask and Ironside for the Kimhana proc, Glitch because we have nothing better to use. Soyun is irreplaceable and is a juicy buffer, and then Dorothy can be replaced by other buffers, debuffers, so on and so forth. Sigma is going to be a damage increase as well as DP generator here. The ship we're using is Detroit because it buffs our main DPS, which are strikers, as well as the juicy minus 50% defense break. Kimhana is the operator, and A-Speed is the psi skill of choice. You can use crit damage, but A-Speed gives you more attack on a minus 80%, or, well, no, an 80% evasion boss. So only 20% of your hits hit, so might as well try to get as many as you can in. So we can leave auto ulti on because we basically don't have anything else except for the Sigmas to ulti. And Asigma's ulti will come much later than regular Sigma, so we don't have to sit here and just keep watching in the back to ulti on Sigma. With proper mine placement, you don't have to sit here and worry too much about your Asigma losing a bunch of HP from the gases. Well, extra HP from the gases. Ironside for that juicy heal, plus A-Speed buff. God, I wish we could replace Glitch with something better. As soon as those mines are clear, you are free to deploy Soyun. You want to sit here and death break 12 seconds for your targeted kill time. Dorothy for the extra DPS, and then we Kamehameha our way to victory. Decent score at 71%. Asigma obviously the best. Here for this team, we're going to be using full CDR set on Tower Sigma, as much skill haste as possible. A Sigma, you're going to want damage gear on. You're going to want anti-mech, anti-ranger, anti-ground. You might want ground res, depending on if you're having issues keeping your Sigma alive. Besides that, really not a lot of options. We just want her to do as much damage as possible. Ifrit, you can use Shadow Hall gear, anti-ranger, attack gear. You want the same thing, anti-mech, anti-ranger, anti-ground. You can also do A-Speed. Brita is really not recommended here, as it's not as consistent as just damage on a wonderful evasion boss. Tarask, you can sit there and just run whatever damage gear. She doesn't really do that much, but if you're having issues keeping her alive, you can run HP. Ironside, I recommend as much skill haste as possible. Glitch put damage gear. Wonderful plus 40% anti-mech that is already innate. Doesn't really seem to do much anyways, but we do it. We work with what we can. So Yoon I put on damage gear. Attack speed is recommended. She only has 6 seconds to live. You want her to get out as soon as possible and then apply her D special as quickly as she can. A speed will help out with that. And then she just kind of goes bleh. Dorothy, I recommend just straight damage gear. She's not going to be able to ever reapply her buff to your team anyways. She has to hit in order to do that and then crit on top of that. So her doing as much as she can in the little time that she's out, if she does hit, is just far better than trying to go for an extra buff proc. Now, if you thought you couldn't do this boss without Asigma, well, guess what? You can. It's not as great, but we have a team. I went ahead and yoinked this team from Itchy Ninja. It's basically Jane and Titan carry with Swordman as your front line. Sigma is going to be your DP generator, as well as Ifrit coming in for another sub DPS. Then we have all our wonderful buffers down there, Soyun, Dorothy, into Ingrid for our wonderful Lena proc. Detroit's the ship you're going to want to use on this one as well. Really no getting around not using Detroit. You can use Enterprise if you want, but... So, one of the things I do here is I wait till 254 to deploy Swordsman so that I can aggro the bombs in the back. Swordsman dodge it, and you'll notice that I put on ×2. That's because where you lose DPS by doing that, the boss also does less DPS, so it helps keep your stuff alive. I deployed Jane at 230 here, not right away. You can leave auto ulti on, funny enough, for the entire thing. Turn off ×2, about 220 before the DPS check. And after the mines are cleared, I deploy Soyun and Dorothy, apply my death break, and try to get Ingrid, just spamming her as much as I can to get her out as soon as possible. We get that juicy proc, and then we just go into the kill phase. Cutting it a little close there, but we got it. Surprisingly, Titan doing the most damage. Well, I guess not surprising, he's out for a whole extra 30 seconds. But Jane with that juicy DPS. Gear for this team is pretty much similar to the other one. CDR on Sigma. Swordsman, I went with HP. I tried to do attack speed, but they just didn't seem to live long. But you want crit res, and you want anti-ground res on them. Titan, I went ahead and put that attack anti-ranger. EE is super important here. Even if you have to break the set for the EE, use the EE. Ifrit with the wonderful Shadow Hall gear, anti-ranger blaze. Of course, you can use better. Jane Doe, I went ahead and built a reactor. Didn't really help all that much. I thought it might, but eh. Either way, attack speed anti-ranger on her is what I used. You can use Shadow Hall gear. Whether it's Blaze or Smite, you can use attack, anti-ranger, any mixture of that, mech damage, just same DPS gear as other people. Soyun, same thing, attack speed, get her out as quick as possible. Use her special fast. Same thing for Dorothy, do as much damage as possible, don't go for buff, it's not worth it. Thanks for watching, I hope this guide helps you. Again, don't get discouraged if you don't kill the boss right away. Evasion isn't a fun mechanic, and we're currently locked out of our tools to deal with it this time. As always, feel free to leave a comment or catch me on Discord, the link will be in the description. If you want to support this channel, you can find a link in the description. All help is appreciated. And I will see you all next time. Haha, if you thought the video was over, it wasn't. I want to give a special thank you to those that have helped and supported this channel. Your likes, comments, shares, subscriptions have all made a huge difference. If it wasn't for each and every one of you, I wouldn't be here doing this, and it's your encouragement and support that keep me motivated to continue. Once again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being part of this journey.